been with Project Purr for almost 2 years, and I am a volunteer and a foster, and I'm on the board of directors.
Hi, I'm Angie Fusilier, the Adoption Services Director with Project Purr and also a volunteer. Peggy Polk, one of the most wonderful women I have ever met, and I'm so glad she took me under her wing and allowed me to volunteer with her organization.
Peggy, who I know you talked to earlier, is the one who got me involved. She's my next door neighbor, and we have our first cat that we adopted was one of the very first Project Purr cats. It was right after she and Carol had formed the organization. It was her vision, her idea, and her commitment to make Baton Rouge a better place for our animals. She's an amazing woman, and she's an inspiration, and Project Purr wouldn't exist if it wasn't for her. So she is the backbone of the organization.
Well, I recently became the executive director. Thank you. I was running the foster program before, and I still kind of am. I'm trying to figure how to delegate. It's a challenge when your organization is volunteer run. Asking people pretty please to do things instead of having employees that it's their job. I met Peggy when I was at CAA. One day I saw Peggy, I was working at the front desk, and I saw Peggy walking out the door with a bunch of kittens. And I was like, hey, what are you doing? Because I didn't know her. Laura Hines, who was that first director, came and she said, oh, this is Peggy Polk, and she saves lots of kitties and she saves lots of lives. I was like, this lady, she founded the cat rescue. Her husband's awesome, and she's a rock singer. And I was like, I just want to grow up and be her.
Sir, could you not knock down the artificial tree? Thank you. Come here, baby. This is Taylor. Taylor founded Project Purr, actually. As you can see, he's a hyperactive cat. And I rescued him in 2010. Before Project Purr started, and he had to stay there for 7 days, stray hold period, and he contracted panleukopenia while he was there, very predictably so. And we loved him so much that we decided that this was before we had any organization or anything, it was just Steve and myself doing it. And so we put him in the intensive care unit at LSU, and he was there for 3 weeks, and they managed to save his life. And Steve and I had vowed that we were going to adopt him rather than try and rehome him. And so we adopted him, and I sort of vowed that if he survived that I was going to start an organization. So he survived it, so I had to start the organization. Project Purr is a rescue organization that was formed for the specific purpose of lowering the kill rate at the Baton Rouge shelter. Before we were formed, 90% of all cats and kittens that were impounded there died there within 6 days. And we thought that was completely unacceptable and thought we could do something about it. And so we formed this organization, and during some months recently, we've gotten that kill rate down to below 50%. We have a long way to go until we get to, our purpose is to get to no kill. We have a long way to go, but maybe we're halfway there. We have the rescue team, we have the foster team, and then the adoption team.
Peggy did all the right things. She had major donors before she started. She set up everything, is organized. We have records of every single cat that we've ever pulled. We can tell you what cage and what impound number they had when they were at the shelter. We can tell you who they're with now, and if they got adopted, who adopted them. It's a fabulous setup. It's a fabulous organization.
Okay, Carol Guillory co-founded this organization, and I will tell you, without her, there's no way any of this would have happened. This was a huge loss for Project Purr to lose her. And it's hit everybody really hard.
After Miss Carol's death, which was really sad, Well, even before a few days, we've been going down to her greenhouse, basically, which is basically now a cat house.
This is actually a structure that, until just a few years ago, was a greenhouse. And it's in the backyard of an incredible woman named Carol Guillory, who, thanks to Carol, I had the guts to start Project Purr. So she's a co-founder of Project Purr. And she took this greenhouse and had it converted into a climate-controlled, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful little shelter, so to speak. And because she did that, she saved over 130 cats and kittens over a 2-year period. And it's the end of a really incredible era.
It was her passion, and she enjoyed it for probably 3 years, Peggy, maybe longer. And we're not sorry we did it, and I'm certainly not. Carol would be happy.
She would.
We want to keep her happy.
We do.
One thing that's amazing about Project Purr is that we have what's called matchmakers, and our goal is to have the cat paired up with the proper family, because if one or the other is miserable, everybody's miserable. So we really try to get to know the cats. We try to know their personalities to make sure that a calm cat isn't going into a house with 10 kids, or a hyper cat's not going into a house all by itself where it's bored and lonely and all those kinds of things. And that's the great thing about working the kiosk, because we get to talk to people and play with kitty cats and help matchmake.
The fact that we have this kiosk in the mall is unbelievable. I've been in rescues where we've tried to get spots in the mall, or even just them letting us into the mall to stand in a corner for a day, and it's nearly impossible. The fact that they donate this kiosk to us, we're incredibly lucky.
When you get a cat microchipped, you register online. So the animal shelter has the scanner, and they scan the cat. And then if it has a microchip, the microchip will show up on the computer, and it'll go beep beep beep. And then they'll take that over to the internet, and the internet will say, "This is the Daniels cat. They live at so place, blah blah blah." And then the cat will go back to their home. And on the other hand, some people don't even know about microchipping, which is kind of sad.
I don't know about you, but if I'm going to have to live 6 days in torture versus 3 days in torture, I'll take the 3 days, thanks.
The animal shelter is so crowded that there is not space for all the animals that come in. What's really sad about this guy is that we pulled him on a Sunday. I found out later that his brother was up there. They didn't have him in the same cage. And when I went back up on Tuesday to get him, his brother had already been euthanized.
They have to keep a cat or an animal for at least 3 days until they can get rid of it. Some of our cats are great cats, but at the animal shelter, they would have been scared to death.
This is Cat Strays. This is where all the kitties go who first come in without an owner, are picked up by animal control. They are trying to not let kittens in there as much because kittens are more susceptible to disease, and because of the high number of cats in there, it's more likely that once a cat comes in off the street, they break with an upper respiratory infection, they sneeze, blow snot everywhere, everybody gets it. I try to pull mostly adults from here because I feel like the ones in the kiddio, they have somewhere to go. They go to the catio. They graduate. Hey, my baby girl. Hello. I know. I like you. Whereas the adults in here have much less of a chance. It's not a kill date as much. They do have a day when their time is up, but because they're friendly and they're open cages, as long as they don't get overloaded,
they keep them as long as they can. As long as they don't get overloaded and as long as they don't get sick. Because as soon as they start letting sick cats hang around, more cats get sick. And then it defeats the purpose. You know, you want to save as many as you can. But if you let sick cats stay in here, then everybody gets sick and everyone has to be put down. It's really sort of a tragic thing. The kittens in there, they don't really have any place to go unless we take them. And then once we take them, they can move the kittens from the bay over there. But the adults in here are my priority as far as adults go. Oh, baby, you're my priority. We're trying to keep any disease that could possibly be traveling around on the bottom of our shoes. The shelter takes in so many animals that it is a daily challenge to keep everything sanitary. And this is the extra special area where we're trying to make sure that the animals chosen to go in here don't have disease. If they do, they get treated. So we just like to make sure that we're not dragging it in on our feet. The cats in this section, in the quarantine section, are considered safer than the ones in strays. But it is still not a guarantee. He's coming with me, Book. She's getting pulled today because I have one foster open today. And I'm choosing this kitten instead of any of the others that we've seen because this kitten is in a cage all by himself. The point to our rescue organization is to save as many lives as we can. If I pull this kitten, now they have an empty cage in here. If I took one out of the cages with many, they would still have as many full cages as they had. That's why we chose this guy. He's the only one all by his lonesome.
He just thinks this is his new home. He's adapting very well. He's made his little self at home. Knowing that we're saving their lives is very tragic to know all the ones that you can't save, but knowing that you are saving the ones that you bring home is very rewarding.
I get my biggest jollies when I actually, one of my own fosters, I adopt them out to a family. That just really, it's the feeling of knowing, okay, this cat, I just saved this cat from euthanasia at the shelter, and now not only have I saved this cat, but I'm making this family really happy. So I've enriched the lives of people and I've saved the life of a cat.
Knowing that I'm saving lives. My husband is amazing and super supportive, and one thing he always says is my wife saves lives every day and I work on a computer. So that's kind of cool.
Kissing their little cheeks. That's my favorite thing.
It's good for the children to get exposed to this, to raise their awareness and to raise their compassion about the animals. So it's been a really positive experience.
And we'll play with the cats. It's just so much fun.
It's a group of great people. It was set up great. We stick to our mission. We just want to save lives.